a spy isn't as glamorous as I thought. But it isn't dull.
What? Angel's Awakening on Kickstarter?
Yeah, well, who could have seen this coming?
Ah. uh, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Critique Corner with me, Daniel Parker.
And me, DB Fastbinder.
And we have a little special show tonight, as you all saw. Is, of course, the launch of my first comic book, Angel's Awakening, on Kickstarter. It is now live. Link is in the description down below.
That's very interesting. When you showed it to me 5 minutes ago, it said 30 days to go. So I guess it counts as soon as you launch as, oh, day's gone.
Yeah, I guess so. Interesting. Yeah, so this is obviously going to be new for me. I've never done a Kickstarter project before, so see how this goes. But yeah, the comic book you all know and love has returned. The witness the origins of Jessica Sawyer, psychic teleporting spy. And if you're unfamiliar with it, the book was written by me. All of the illustrations, colors were done by Bogdan Rizea, who's my artist on this book, as well as the follow-up book, Guardian Angel, which will probably be going to Kickstarter at some point as well. And lettering done by the one and only Eric Weathers, because he letters everybody's books.
Yes.
And but yeah, so it's set 100 years in the future, and Jessica Sawyer as a psychic spy with the ability of teleportation, and she is sent on her first mission deep behind enemy lines to recover a body in cryogenic stasis. And during her mission, she has to fight off a powerful water elemental named Sky. And of course, this is a perfect little prologue to Guardian Angel, and obviously the beginning of my ongoing series. The book is, and of course, I've already done Indiegogo campaigns for this, so the book is done, printed off, all that good stuff. So once the 30 days are up, it's going to go right into fulfillment. Of course, here's of course the great interior pages here. Yeah. Love this page. And of course the climactic chase scene is really is to be seen to be believed. And oh, hey Chingus, good to see you. Yes, yeah.
I was going to whip out my copy of the book, but I realized I'd already moved it to my long box. So, oops.
Oh, okay. Oh, no problem. Well, here I've got one right here. So here it is, and here's the back cover.
The only risk is missing out.
Exactly. Yeah. But along with the book, which is available both physical and digital, I'm bringing this poster this poster back of Jessica with the motorcycle. This was on the second Indiegogo campaign. It sold pretty well, and I still have some copies of it that I've printed off, some leftovers. So you pick that up if you missed out on it. And this is a new poster that I've got of Jessica in her workout attire. This poster is I'm trying to remember the size. It's 18 by 24, right? 18 by 20. Yeah, this poster is bigger than this poster, which this one's going to be 11 by 17.
Okay, so that one's like a more standard poster size.
Yeah. And of course, this is an exclusive to just this campaign, just to this Kickstarter campaign. If you get a physical copy of the book, this lovely portrait here of Jessica it will be included for free as an art print. Yeah, and all of the artwork here, all these posters and the print and everything were all done by Bogdan. So yeah, pick this up today if you haven't already. If you didn't get it on Indiegogo or any of the Indiegogo campaign, or if you prefer Kickstarter,
Yep, it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure you'll get some walk-in traffic just from people who frequent Kickstarter but not Indiegogo.
yeah. Yeah, I think so too. And but yeah, so the tiers here, of course, here's digital. Here is physical, um, and then poster here, and then here are the posters, and then of course this one here, you can get one of everything. So that's digital, physical, and both posters. Oh, and the portrait will be in there as well. I forgot to put that in there, but yeah, the portrait will be included in that tier as well. So there we go.
Yes. So I
Yeah.
suppose that, yep, so go out there, pick it up, you'll enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
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 It is a fine comic, and it's good practice for the upcoming sequel.
Indeed. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, link is in the description down below, and I'll be posting it on Twitter and all that stuff. Good stuff. So, all right. Shilling out of the way, let's get into our show.
By Grabthar's Hammer, what a bargain.
Yes. So, if you're new to the show, what we normally do is we do what's called, I guess we're going back to Thing of the Week or Media of the Week or.
Yeah, we need to. But basically, every week we watch, read, play something that we want to discuss.
Yes, and then we move on to talking about box office, and then we get into our topics. So since I've been talking long enough, DB, I guess you will be starting us off here with yours.
The film Suzume. Rob Schneider is a chair. No, seriously. So if you've seen Weathering to You or Your Name, you've kind of already seen Suzume, because Makoto Shinkai, the anime director, loves to do these coming of age stories about a young girl or young guy turned girl in the case of Your Name, spoiler alert.
Mm-hmm.
Also, hey, Holy Ninja.
Hey, Ninja.
And it's fun. It's weird to say that I feel like they keep making the same movie with some details changed, but I feel like they make it a little bit better every time. So, plotline is the titular Suzume is living her normal junior high life when suddenly she runs into a handsome older boy, who is what they call a closer. Although apparently I forget what the term was it's a review of somebody who had seen the English dub. They had a different name for it, but in the Japanese, they call them a closer. You might say, what's a closer? Is it somebody who gets coffee? No. Coffee is not for closers in this movie. It's basically, now this is one of those things where one of my friends who I watched it with was a little bit confused about some of the details. Holy crap, 1,000 blocked ads, and I've had this ad blocker for about 30 seconds.
Wow.
What website am I on that's just trying to spam me with ads?
I don't know. Jeez.
I'm going to guess it's one of the news sites I have open. Anyhow,
yeah.
back on topic.
Yeah.
So but it's kind of one of those things where you kind of just have to accept the kind of mythical nature of it.
Hmm.
There are these doors spread around Japan in abandoned areas, and if they are opened, then this enormous beast called the worm, which is kind of like a bunch of red tentacles, comes out and causes disasters, specifically massive earthquakes.
Uh,
So the closers go from place to place to place, closing these doors.
hmm. Okay.
Um, well, Suzume accidentally unleashes the guardian of one of these, a cat whose name I forget, Daijin, I think.
Mm.
Uh, and he's like, he doesn't want to be a guardian who's frozen in like a stony form anymore. He wants to go play, so that causes problems. And he curses our handsome stranger here to be Suzume's childhood chair.
Oh, jeez.
So there are lots of scenes of the chair running around, walking around, chasing after the cat
Oh.
as they wander about Japan and meet a variety of colorful characters. Now, I'm sure everyone wants to know. Yes, at one point she does sit on his face.
Ah. I'm hearing Monty Python in my head now.
Yes. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, this is a. I watched a film threat review from who's the guy who does it with Chris Gore,
Uh,
the
Alan Ning.
Alan. Yeah, Alan was just completely confused by this. He had no idea what he was watching,
Okay.
which you kind of have to understand, like, or you kind of appreciate what the how to call it what the anime if or like how anime is kind of its own language at times.
Yeah.
Because I found it understandable enough. You just kind of accepted, okay, there are supernatural things afoot. It's kind of more about the feels than the brains.
Yeah.
And it's Suzume trying to turn our handsome stranger back from being a chair into being a handsome stranger again, and stopping the destruction of Japan by the worm.
Uh, yeah.
I would say that some of the best parts of the movie were the the randos they run into as they're going out and about.
Hmm.
Because of course, she's like what junior high, so she's running away from home, so she kind of has to rely on the kindness of strangers, and some interesting misadventures happen as a result of that.
Yeah.
It did feel like it went slightly long, though. That was partially because I'd had a large soda before sitting down, and
Uh,
it's like I was holding out for like, okay, this feels like the end of the movie. Oh, it isn't. Okay, zip zip.
yeah. Yeah. I remember that about Your Name and Weathering with You. Like, you think the movie's coming to an end. You think it's over, but it's like, no, it just keeps going
Yeah,
and keeps going. Yeah.
yeah, your name in particular. I feel like
Yeah.
your name, like I was mentioning before the show, your name had the two inexplicable music videos that felt like the openings to an anime that didn't exist because it was a movie.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
told me that Weathering with You was originally meant to be a OVA, I would believe you, just based on those two things being awkwardly mashed into the middle of the movie at different points.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree. Yeah.
But this felt more like a proper movie,
Okay.
and it's a visual treat. This is like the most gorgeous animation that you're going to see out of Japan these days.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's another. What that is one thing I will say about again with Your Name and Weathering with You. The animation is gorgeous. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I don't know if this is an original story because I know that Your Name was originally a light novel.
Hmm.
So uh, I've heard people claim that all of these movies take place in the same continuity. So does that mean that we're going to have a Nick Fury character get together a team of ja- of seemingly ordinary Japanese teenage girls to I don't know, find out some mystery of their past together? Because that's what these always seem to be about.
Oh, maybe they could be building to that. Yeah,
But would I recommend Suzume? Yeah, it's just it's a nice time.
Mm,
It it's not the it's not the bestest movie ever, but it's kind of plays in that Miyazaki zone.
yeah, yeah. I definitely like kind of like stories like that that make you feel good. Yeah,
You know, my one friend was really annoyed at the end of Your Name, where they didn't explicitly say that the two of them got together at the end.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I
but
think
it's
I
like,
think it's implied, heavily implied that they did.
hey, Holy Ninja, you take that out of your mouth. A View to a Kill was a great movie.
So, Mr. Bond, you got to stop me from destroying Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I'm like '80s Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I have to say about Suzume because I don't want to spoil too much. But
Yeah. Yes, and for my
oh
thing,
crap,
oops.
I know.
Uh-oh, technical difficulties. There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
So Daniel, you're one of those fake Star Trek fans who watched Star Trek puke hard, and your particular views are exactly why Alex Kurtzman is now coming back to make more Star Trek STD.
Yes, that's right, Doomcock. I'm one of those fake Star Trek fans. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
But no, yeah, so Picard's the finale of season 3 of Picard dropped today. I actually just watched it before the show, and so I'm trying to go off of my memory from the previous episodes because this was a weekly show that they dropped a new episode once a week. Um, so I was not going to watch this. I was just like, no, I don't. I hated season 1. I didn't bother watching season 2. I watched Red Letter Media's review of season 2, and I'm like, no, I'm not.
I didn't even realize that Red Letter Media had come out with an review of season 2.
Yeah, they did. Whatever it was, like, yeah, they did like a few different episodes. Yeah, like I think they did 3 different episodes of it.
Okay, so they didn't do like a huge omnibus one like they did with season 1, where they just tore it to shreds for an hour.
No, they didn't.
They
No,
didn't give
yeah,
it the Mr. Plinkett treatment.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so but I mean, Robert Meyer Burnett came out and he had pre-watched it a few months ago. Praised it to the hilt, said it was great. And he's somebody that I have a good. I respect his opinion, um, and especially when it comes to Trek, because he knows Trek very well. He knows it better than I do. So I'm like, and then I heard from other people who said that it's actually pretty good. So all right, so I gave it a watch. Um, the first 4 episodes are really good. Very entertaining. It sets up the problem, sets up the story pretty well. Um, I will say it gets a little meddling in the middle, like 5 episodes, 5, 6, and 7 kind of seems to drag on a little.
Mm.
But then it picks up again in episode 8. But it I think the problem, and I heard another reviewer say that this could have easily been a 6 episode season, and
Mm.
could have had a nice tight story, but of course they didn't. It was 10 episodes.
Got to get that extra month of Paramount Plus out of you.
Exactly. Yeah. But but like I said, it gets better near the end, because uh, by the end of the 8th episode, the entire crew from the Next Generation are back together.
Also 7 of 9.
Yeah, and 7 of 9. Yes. Yeah. So I guess I'll try not to get too far into spoilers with it. So like the first, I'll talk about kind of like the overall story is. It starts off where with Dr. Crusher is in trouble. She's kind of she's doing she Robert Meyer Burnett kind of described her as being like doing like a Doctors Without Borders type thing.
Hmm.
So she's got like her own ship, and she's going around helping, with medical stuff. Ninja Toe, as the show improved, yeah, it did. Yeah, it improved. And she's doing that, but all the while she's being hunted by somebody. She doesn't know who they are. They're after her, and she sends a message of help to Picard. And so Picard has to go help her, and he enlists the aid of Riker, and they
As you
get
do.
on. Yeah, as you do, yeah. And so they go on board. The ship in the image, by the way, is the Titan, which was Riker's ship. That was his old that he commanded. And 7 of 9, by the way, is the first officer on the Titan. And the captain of the ship, his name is Shaw, and he's kind of it starts off, he's a real jerk. But you kind of warm up. You kind of understand where he's coming from as the season progresses. But they basically hijack the Titan so that they can rescue Crusher, and of course, then we meet the villain, who's played by Amanda Plummer. I'm trying to think of anything she's been in. All I know is that she's the daughter of Christopher Plummer. And for those of you who know your Trek, Christopher Plummer played General Chang in Star Trek VI.
She was in a movie in 2018 called We Are Boats.
Well,
and in another movie called Abigail Harm. Both of which have slightly less than a 6 on IMDb. So.
Oh. well, this may be a good bump in her career. So that the whole motivation is that they're looking for Dr. Crusher's son, Jack Crusher. And I'll give away a little spoiler here. Jack Crusher is also Picard's son.
Bum bum bum.
Bum, bum. Yeah. So the whole thing is them trying to keep Jack away from the bad guys. And then, of course, other things pop up throughout the season, and you have a bunch of returning villains from previous Star Trek iterations. I will say you do kind of need to know your Trek to watch this, and I don't just mean Next Gen. I mean DS9 and Voyager.
Oh,
yeah.
So when do we get Star Trek Janeway?
Oh God, I hope not. I hope not. But yeah. So what's interesting too is they brought back a lot of characters that you hadn't seen in a long time. I don't know if I don't want to spoil it, but it's definitely the Terry Matalas, who's the guy who oversaw this season. He's a big fan of the original series movies. The season had that feel of the original series movies, specifically 2, 3, and 4. There's actually a nice little reference in the last episode, a nice little reference to Star Trek 4. Well, there are actually a couple of references to Star Trek 4, but also like Star Trek 2, but yeah, like I said, 2 and 3. And you could also tell that with a lot of the musical cues. But it's definitely for the fans. And like I said, starts off really strong, gets a little meddling in the middle, but finishes on a high note.
Well, that's good. I mean, considering this is almost certainly the last time we're going to see Patrick Stewart play the character.
Oh yeah.
For that matter, all these people playing their characters.
Yeah, and it's because they're all. I think they're all older than the original series cast was in Star Trek 6.
Oof.
For the most part. Yeah, I think if you took the average age of everybody there, and then right there, and then compared it to the average age of from start to the crew from Star Trek 6, they probably would be older. But yeah, I mean, like I said, if you love Star Trek, if you like the Next Generation, it's a good it gives the crew from the Next Generation a good ending, and sends them off, as they should have been sent off with, because they didn't get that send off in Nemesis. So
No.
yeah.
You wonder what could have been if they hadn't wasted the first 2 seasons of Picard on. Actually, did any plot lines carry over? Yeah, Holy Ninja's asking the same question I did. Because I'm not seeing any of those characters in this cast photo here.
The only one, so right there on Raffi. She was in the first 2 seasons. She comes back, but she actually has something to do in this. That's actually,
What a concept.
yeah, I know. And she's actually not annoying. So
What another concept.
yeah. But yeah, but other than her and Seven of Nine, yeah, none of the other cast members from the first 2 seasons are in. Well, okay, the Romulan woman from that like that was working for him in the first season, and then like in the second season they were like starting a romance, which was really weird. She's in the first episode, and then because he tells her like, oh, I have to go, help,
My home planet needs me.
yeah, I have to go now, my planet needs me. Yeah, and you never see her again. So
Well, I thought Romulus was destroyed. My planet needs me.
yeah. Well, it's Picard that leaves, not her. But yeah,
okay.
it's But yeah, but it's basically the same thing. Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
Well, I'm glad that it and people I know at work who, although they've enjoyed the other new Star Treks, so I have to question their taste slightly.
Yeah.
But they've been enjoying themselves with this. So I'm not the biggest Trek fan in the world. I almost more enjoy talking about the series than actually watching it, which sounds weird. But I'm glad that everybody got a nice send off.
Yeah.
All
right.
Speaking of nice send offs,
yeah,
I had the wrong thing pulled up.
that's right.
The box office. Boy, Mario, you're taking all the money away from everybody else. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. I was almost so. It feels like whenever there's a period in the box office where things aren't going particularly well, you almost start wondering, okay, is this the new floor? Is this the new ceiling? Is this the new normal? During pandemic times, it was okay. Is it just this percentage of people are afraid to go to the theaters? Earlier this year, was it okay? Is it economics aren't the best and people are just afraid to go to spend their money on a theater ticket when they could watch it on streaming instead?
Yeah.
And then you have things like Top Gun, Avatar 2, and now a Super Mario Brothers movie that remind you, no, it's just that people have to actually have a need to actually have a motivation to go to the theaters, and then they'll come out in droves.
Yes. Yeah.
Like this, I mean, just for comparison, and let's be very mean here because this is the movie that they were really hoping was going to, start the year on a strong foot. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, $44,000 last weekend.
Ooh.
Mind you, this is at 75 theaters because it's on digital at the very least. I forget if it's on Disney Plus yet.
I don't know if it's I don't know if it's on Disney Plus yet, but yeah, it's probably on digital.
So Ant-Man was out for
Was it 9 weeks?
Yeah, basically 9 weeks.
Yeah.
It has basically topped out at 466 million worldwide. Mario Bros is sitting at 729.
Ooh.
And both its international and domestic box offices alone are fairly close to Quantumania's entire run.
Yeah.
Uh, And the crazy thing is that internationally, this movie has still not launched in Japan or South Korea.
And it'll probably do very well in both of those countries.
You would be surprised if they didn't. Also, you often we quite often see the sad sperm whale of failure here
Yeah.
for these theatrical performances.
Yeah.
When we look at the numbers, projections versus what actually happens.
Yeah. Ninja Turtle. Yeah. It's not out in Japan.
Yeah, I don't know. I think from what I've heard on a couple of streams, they're basically waiting for Golden Week, which is like when a bunch of schools are out and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
But so you have the sad sperm whale failure. Then occasionally you have ones where the numbers can accurately project the range. Then you have things like this where it just shoots up above it.
Yeah.
It is currently about $15 million over the projection after 2 weekends, plus a couple extra weeks Easter, or a couple extra days Easter week.
Yeah.
So well played, Illumination Studios.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They got a winner. And it'll more than likely hit $1 billion.
At this point, yeah, I mean, so it's a little bit hard to compare apples to oranges because they had those extra couple of days before Easter.
Mhm.
But if you go with the assumption that movies usually make between like 50 and 70% of their take in their first 2 weeks,
Mhm.
if it doubles, we're talking close to or possibly higher than Top Gun.
Mm. Ooh. Wow.
Do not underestimate the Mario.
No. He's making the money.
Yes, he does. Well, that was annoying after 5 minutes. No wonder they told Chris Pratt to New York it up.
Yeah.
After 5 seconds, I should say.
Yeah.
Other new releases, we had The Pope's Exorcist, which sounds like an entirely ordinary possession movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Russell Crowe, who hasn't had a hit in a while.
No. He even went on the Critical Drinker channel.
I saw that. I've been meaning to watch that video. Yeah.
It's so weird that okay, Critical Drinker is kind of like a controversial-ish fellow when you get down to it,
Yeah.
but he keeps doing he keeps getting mainstream people on his stream.
Yeah. It's yeah. I don't know how he pulls that off.
Well, you heard the story about how when everyone was complaining about the race bent Tinkerbell, uh,
Mhm.
everybody got demonetized. He sailed right on through because he was sarcastic as all get out about how great this movie looked. Because that's what he always does when he's like making fun of these woke casting changes.
Yeah.
Is oh, this looks great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so like the YouTube algorithm cannot detect sarcasm.
Right.
That's how we'll beat the machines totally.
Yes. Yeah. And of course, we got John Wick 4 still hanging in there.
Yep, it's slowing down a bit, but for what it is, it's R-rated 3-hour movie doing very nicely for itself.
Yeah.
Um,
How did he do the? I don't know. I haven't watched
he
the.
he actually hasn't really talked about it. He hasn't done a separate video on it yet.
Ah.
Lilo and Stitch casting is one we could talk about as a story, but it's another one of those situations where no matter what side you drop down on, you're an inconsistent racist. Sorry.
Yeah, pretty much.
A friend of mine actually went to see Renfield, which he said, DB, you would not like this movie, but it's very gory and it is Nicolas Caging it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard it was okay.
Yeah, which is also a hallmark of many Nicolas Cage projects.
Yeah.
Then bringing out the top 5, we've got Amazon Studios' Air,
Mhm.
the Ben Affleck documentary about the launch of the Air Jordans brand.
Yeah.
Um, at this point, it does not look like Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves is going to hit that coveted $100 million mark for the U.S. box office,
Mm,
which is a shame. It deserved better, but we've talked
yeah.
at some length about how they screwed themselves over.
Yeah.
Suzume came in at number 7 with 5 million at 2,000 theaters, which that's a very wide release for an anime movie.
Yeah, it is.
So people are, it's nice to see it getting some love.
Mm.
Although I'm going to look something up because, okay, they are still reporting daily figures on it. There was that Demon Slayer movie. I could still buy tickets for it, and the numbers was like, nope, it was out of the theaters after the one weekend. It's like, but I could I could have bought tickets for it all through that week.
Huh.
So it's weird.
Yeah.
Another new release we had was Mafia Mama. I watched a Chris Gore thing about it, and that sounds like it was just kind of not terribly funny comedy about a American woman who gets brought to Italy to take over the mafia because of her grandfather's dying wish.
Oh, yeah.
And like the joke is that she keeps killing people accidentally, and she gets a reputation because of it.
Oh, jeez.
We also have Nefarious, yet another horror movie release, and Scream 6.
Yeah.
This is an oddly horrific April. What's going on?
I don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. Now this one has a much smaller release footprint, a little under 1,000 theaters. So this one might be Soli Dio Global. Is this This is their only movie? Interesting.
Hmm.
So
And
small distributor. Okay.
uh and it will probably be on Shutter in a couple of weeks.
Probably if it isn't already.
Yeah.
The other one is we got Sweetwater. Don't know anything about that. I watched
Yeah.
Chris Gore's review of Beau is Afraid. It sounds pretentious and weird.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually super chatted him and said it sounded like an unfunny What About Bob?
What did they say to that?
And Gore agreed it was.
Oof. Oof, oof, oof.
Yeah.
All right. We don't have new DEG figures this week, so if we talk about what we're likely to see more of in the future, going by how our good friends Ant-Man is doing, and also Shazam: Fury of the Gods, it might not even hit 70 million. It's been out, might not even hit 60 million at this rate.
Oof.
That's unfortunate for it.
Yeah.
So, which I don't know anything about because I haven't bothered to see it because I like time and money too much to watch another Shazam movie, especially
Yeah.
when it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I really don't have any desire to watch it and see it and watch it either.
Yeah. So looking ahead, I think we might be seeing the twilight of the superhero film,
Yeah.
which is good. Let's shove nerddom back into the collective locker.
Yes. Yeah, I'm tired of it being mainstream.
Yes. Speaking of mainstream things, this isn't one of our cover titles, but it looks like that there is a possible TV series reboot for Twilight. So my only enjoyment from Twilight comes from watching the riff tracks of it because those movies are hilarious.
Yeah.
When with the proper accompaniment and attitude, and if you're
Yeah.
a drinker, some alcohol.
Yeah.
Though I was trying to think about who they would cast to do it, and for a TV show like this, they're probably not going to put a huge budget into it. You'd probably want some actress who doesn't really have a lot going on, maybe hasn't had a hit for a bit. How about that Kristen Stewart chick? Buzzing.
Ooh. Yes, Virgil. Yeah, yeah.
to quote smart Beavis and Butthead.
Yes.
Yeah, they're also doing Harry. Nolly Ninja points out they're also doing
Yeah.
Harry Potter. So we're going into an era of remakes of 2000s adaptations. 2000s is now 20 years ago. That means
Oh.
that people have nostalgia for it.
Oh. Ow.
Yes.
Ow.
Ow, indeed. You know,
Ugh.
at least we're being owed by the ceaseless march of time rather than James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy is projecting to not do terribly great, which
Yeah.
color me legitimately surprised. And I'm not being like sarcastic. Well, imagine my shock. No, imagine my shock.
Yeah, I'm surprised by this too because of all the upcoming Marvel releases, this is the one I think I would say would probably do very well. Given the fact that the first two movies were really popular, and that like and of course you had the new ride at Disney World, which is a lot of fun. Um,
Yeah, it's weird. It's just
yeah,
weird. And go ahead and pull
it
up
could
some comparison points.
it could very well be because maybe it could be because Marvel is on a downward trajectory and it's a Marvel movie and nobody's like you know
It,
nobody really
it,
cares.
it could be that they have finally killed that golden goose.
Yeah, and of course, given the fact that it's the last movie with I think it's the last Guardians of the Galaxy movie, standalone movie,
Yeah,
and of course James Gunn is done with
he's going over to
Marvel.
DC. Yeah.
Yeah, he's over at DC now. So I mean, it's odd, but I mean, hmm.
Yeah, I mean, $130 million projection, that actually puts it behind the 146 and change opening that the last one did in 2017. Yeah, 2017.
Yeah,
So, and that's without ticket inflation and regulation inflation.
right. Yeah,
So it's there's a level where you're kind of it's all based on what the last movie was. And I know while I really enjoyed the movie, a lot of people were really disappointed by Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And I've even heard some people make some rumblings against the holiday special.
yeah. The I will say I thought that this volume two I thought was good. I didn't think it was as good as the first one, but I mean I thought it was a solid enough movie, and it. I will say I think it took a little too long to get going. It was a little slow, but it was a good movie. I mean, I liked Kurt Russell in there playing Ego.
Yeah,
Uh,
and Yondu had a really good send off.
yeah, yeah. And the holiday special was okay. It was I did actually I'll probably put a card up there where that was my thing of the week last right around Christmas.
Yep.
And yeah, it was basically pretty low. It was obviously very low budget. It was Drax and Mantis wanting to cheer Peter Quill up for Christmas by by kidnapping Kevin Bacon.
Which that might be the most Guardians of the Galaxy plot you could possibly do.
Oh yeah, yeah. And Ninja says volume he thought volume two was better than the first one, more personal journey. The first one was more comedic. And, yeah,
I would say there are different stories trying to do different things.
yeah, I would say so too. And if you feel like you need to watch the holiday special before the third one, I will give away a spoiler from the holiday special. Mantis and Peter Quill are brother and sister.
I remember you mentioning that at the time, and me just being mildly flabbergasted by that.
Yeah,
Just, just because it means that Mantis could have possibly been an ego too, but I guess.
but yeah, for whatever reason, he didn't want her and didn't and
Although refresh my memory. Wasn't she introduced as his servant?
I think so.
Yeah, it's like she interprets ego, or she's like,
Yeah, I don't. It's been a while since I've watched that movie,
yeah.
so I can't really.
So that connection might make slightly more sense. Like I guess he did say that he had trouble birthing one who could be an ego or living
Yeah,
planet. So, oh, you're off. I'll let you off this time, movie. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, Although anybody who I have a half memory that the Telltale game, you could almost kind of like half ship with Mantis playing as Peter. So that's kind of, if that's right, then that's kind of funny in retrospect.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
Now, for comparison's sake, if we compare it to a more recent movie, Thor: Love and Thunder, its opening was 144 million. So this thing is projecting
hmm.
under Thor: Love and Thunder, which is kind of again shocking.
Yeah. Yeah, and Thor: Love and Thunder underperformed pretty bad. Well, not horribly, but not well. But it didn't do
Yeah,
very well.
yeah. If it broke even, it was just broke even. And the interesting thing about it is that you think about it. Okay, so Spider-Man comes out. Yes, no way. Spider Sony Spider-Man 3, because all their titles have the word home in them for some ungodly reason.
Yeah, the way I keep them straight is like breakfast, homecoming, Breakfast Club, or not Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, or something like that, and then Spider-Man European Vacation, and the Spider-Man, I guess would be the third one.
Spider-Man and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yes.
So that comes out. Doctor Strange opens at like 180 million, and then just fell off a cliff after the second weekend. People realized there was no Spider-Man, and the multiverse worked totally differently, and it was a sequel to WandaVision.
Yeah.
So then Thor: Love and Thunder pays for some of the sins of Doctor Strange. Then Black Panther cashes in on, honestly, Chadwick Boseman's death.
Yeah.
Then Ant-Man face plants because Ant-Man was successful, buoyed by Avengers and other high-level movies.
Yeah, and even then it didn't do that. Even then, those two movies didn't do that well.
No, they're definitely profitable, and the first one was a worthwhile movie. The second one, they actually, I was about to make a condescending "they tried" joke, but I have no evidence they tried.
Yeah, I don't think they really
Having
tried.
seen that movie, like,
Oh
do
god, yeah.
you know how rare it is for me to be sitting in a movie theater and be seriously thinking, if my dad hadn't bought me a ticket and driven me here, I might just leave.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of felt the same way after I bought the Blu-ray. I went, "Oh man, if I hadn't bought this, oh jeez."
Yeah, but so Ant-Man face planted. So if you're kind of suffering from the sins of the previous movie, then that would knock some of the shine off of Guardians 3.
Yeah.
Especially because on a certain level, Guardians 1, okay, there's no way that they saw the reaction to Guardians 1 and rewrote every Marvel movie to be goofier immediately, because things were too far in production for that to be the case.
Yeah, I would agree there. Yeah.
But it definitely felt like it was patient zero in the humorification of the MCU.
Yeah, I think Guardians 1 gave us Thor Ragnarok.
Yes, which is funny because the Guardians are actually in Thor Ragnarok a little
Love and
bit.
Thunder.
God damn it, Ed.
I know.
There
I
are too
know.
many superhero. You know what? I'm looking forward to the end of the superhero movie craze because there are too many superhero movies.
Yeah. Hulk was in Ragnarok.
Right. Guardians was in Love and Thunder, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah, and yeah, Chengus said they took the wrong lesson from Guardians 1. Yeah.
yes, Guardians was fun because it was a breath of fresh air in a relatively serious sea of movies with the occasional quip
Right. Yeah.
by God, that America's ass thing in
Oh
uh,
god, yeah.
in Endgame
Endgame, yeah.
still seems so out of place for the situation.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah.
Like a little bit of joshing around for esprit de corps is one thing, but that was weird.
Yeah, or Tony Stark using Axe body spray.
Yeah, and I won't go there.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
speaking of not going there, Guardians of the Galaxy, with that kind of opening, if they have a typical Marvel sperm whale opening,
Yeah.
that that is no good for them. That is between between the face planting of Ant-Man and now this movie, Phase 5 is kind of a dud. People saying, well, they can bring it back together in Phase 6. What investor is going to say, oh, just keep losing $100 million a movie?
No, no, yeah, they're not going to. Yeah. And which is really irksome because they have X-Men and they have Fantastic Four now.
Yeah, it's weird that those haven't really come up. Just to bring up a rumor I keep hearing, supposedly Adam Driver as Reed Richards.
Oh yeah, I heard about that too.
My
Maybe.
my big issue with it is that Adam Driver, in everything I've ever seen him in, and I've seen him in a couple of things
Star Wars.
besides Star Wars, he never seems like he's actually happy.
Mm,
Like he has a face, a very morose face.
yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, I noticed that in Star Wars. Yeah, he's just
Yeah.
like,
So it's like the thing about Reed Richards to me is that the guy is like, okay, so the guy has like a little bit of weight on his shoulders from from what happened to the Thing.
mhm,
But like think of this is the guy who on a weekend will come up with a quantum disentangler and want to go poke around in another dimension just to see what happens.
yeah,
Like the guy is fascinated by everything around him and loves life. And I don't feel like Adam Driver could really deliver that.
yeah. I don't know if Krasinski might be able to do that if he brings in a little bit of Jim Halpert from The Office.
Maybe I'm not really an Office guy. And of course
Yeah,
my opinion of him is soured by the fact that he was in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Nobody
yeah,
came off well in that scene.
yeah. No, yeah, no, yeah. Not even Patrick Stewart with as Professor
No.
X. Like,
Ugh.
yeah, yeah. Well,
What are you gonna do?
what are you gonna
Uh,
do? Yeah.
although your boy Zach over at Comics Matter with your boy Zach did a video this morning where he said, what if instead of making more Marvel movies, what if we just stopped? Let these act instead of making Adam Driver play Reed Richards for the next decade, let him be a character actor in minor roles and
Yeah,
have a fulfilling career.
yeah. What a novel idea.
Maybe go back to comic book movies being special.
Yeah. Instead of pumping out 5 of them a year.
Yeah. Well, you know what? This is like the ultimate in first world problems.
Hmm.
It so is Guardians of the Galaxy 3 under projecting or underperforming. Because after
Yeah.
all, James Gunn already got paid. He's already moved on.
Yeah.
He's he got fired, but he managed to pick himself up afterwards.
Yeah, I'm not feeling sorry for him.
Nope. Though somebody else who seems to be getting fired who may not be able to pick himself up from this.
Yeah.
It's our old friend Jonathan Majors, who is quickly turning into the Morbius and Ezra Miller of 2023 for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I was not expecting this.
No, I mean, I thought I was kind of stretching, finding him interesting enough to be annoyed by how much they were shilling him early on. Because
Yeah.
for those of you who didn't see the previous episodes, our journey with Jonathan Majors this year was, he gets announced, or they kind of big him up for Creed and because
Mhm.
Quantumania was coming up,
Yeah.
and I I have this eternal contrarian streak in me.
Yeah, I do
Like
too. Yeah.
Like if you tell me, oh, Jonathan Majors is the best actor to ever act. He's amazing. Oh man, he was so electric in Creed 3, and man, Ant-Man 3 wasn't very good, but Jonathan Majors was electric in every scene. He's great. Kang is going to be awesome. My
Yeah.
my my first instinct is you can't tell me what to like.
Yeah.
Let
Yeah.
me judge for my own.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sorry, I was just going to continue our story. So so I said, okay, I'm having an immediate knee-jerk reaction. Let's actually watch him in something, and then we can actually have an informed opinion. So we watched uh,
Devotion.
Devotion. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. So we watched Devotion, and that was a perfectly fine movie.
Hmm.
He didn't come across as being able to necessarily play a supervillain, but he wasn't playing a supervillain in the movie, so it could just be range.
Yeah. He was playing a fighter pilot in the Korean War.
The greatest supervillain of them all, Airman.
There. But Chengiz said he was genuinely good in Creed 3. So
And I have no reason to doubt that.
yeah.
So just around the time when we talked ourselves into, okay, we'll give him a chance.
Mhm.
They're trying to shill him a little bit, but that isn't his fault. That doesn't objectively reflect on him as an actor or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so what
Yeah.
happens not too long after we decided to just move on from our knee-jerk reactions?
Yeah, he gets into trouble. Yeah.
Gets into trouble. So Daniel, I had cut you off from a point when I was in the middle of my retelling of the story.
Oh no problem. Um, yeah, and so yeah, seeing him getting artificially, I would say, kind of astroturfed.
Yes.
Because we've seen this with other Hollywood actors where they're getting pumped up artificially. Like Midnight's Edge brought up these actors like Sam Worthington.
And
Um,
he is so lucky he got into Avatar.
oh yeah, because everything else he was in has been it's just been ugh. Um, uh, Jai Courtney.
I completely forgot about him.
Yeah. What's really funny is he's in the Terminal List as a TV show on Amazon Prime with Chris
Mhm.
Pratt.
Yeah.
And they build his character up to be like the big baddie, and then they pull the rug from under you and say, no, he's not the big baddie. He's just a big wuss, and Chris Pratt just takes him out easily.
Oh, poor Jai.
Yeah. Uh, and then Taylor Kitsch, I think that's how you pronounce
Kitsch,
it.
that
Kitsch.
sounds right.
Yeah, Kitsch. I mean, he was in like John Carter of Mars, which was notoriously a notorious bomb. Battleship, which was not only a
Oof.
bomb but a god awful movie.
Yeah, John Carter of Mars, you can at least say that was entertaining.
Yeah, well, I've never seen that one, so I can't comment on it. But
I don't know if I would recommend going out of your way to watch it,
uh,
but it's Jesus, one of the people, it must be people that's just jamming me with ads.
yeah, it must be people. Yeah,
Because I installed this ad blocker like right before the show started because I was getting tired of some of the ads from some of these websites,
yeah.
and it has already blocked 10,000 ads.
God. Oh man.
Or maybe it's Fandom Wire.
Phantom Wire. Yeah, one of those two. Or it could have been Collider that you had up open earlier.
That's true.
But yeah, or all of the above. But yeah, so the same thing was happening with Jonathan Majors, where he was being propped up, and I kind of had the same reaction. I'm like, okay, all right, why is everybody, trying to make this guy the next big, Hollywood's really trying hard to make this guy the next big thing, and then all of a sudden, he gets into trouble, and we of course we talked about it on this show, and we tried to be as we tried to sit on that fence as best we possibly could, because it
Yeah.
was pretty early on. We didn't know, didn't have all the facts. It was, we were just kind of saying, okay, well, let's let the legal process play itself out. Well, things have gotten worse for him.
Yeah, it sounds like people are
Yeah.
coming out of the woodwork to say, I also.
Yeah, which does tend to happen in cases like this, and I always find it really interesting when it does, because it's like, okay, well, why, number one, why didn't you say anything years before?
Mhm.
And that could very well be because he was a, a nobody. I hate to use this word, but a nobody actor. He wasn't anybody. He wasn't a star. And I guess once he started getting some recognition, that's when everybody started to come out
Mm.
and
Well,
say this.
and aside from apparently a few people making veiled allusions on Twitter, it really came out when he got arrested.
Hmm.
And at the time, we were kind of taking the text messages between him and his girlfriend at face value of it being somewhat exonerating. A lot of people have read that as like an afraid person scared of their abuser and not wanting to get
Yeah,
on their bad side.
yeah, and you could well, and of course that's kind of the problem with text messages is there's no nuance. You know.
Yeah, because I could say that was the greatest movie ever, versus that was the greatest movie ever.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, and so as a result of all of that, and um, his talent management has dropped him.
yep. Uh,
His PR firms dropped him.
which
Um,
I was listening to Mahler talk about this, and he's like, "Wait, that's what I pay you for, is to tell me what to do in situations like this.
yeah,
You're my PR agency. What do I do?"
yeah, yeah. When your PR agency drops you, it's like, oh yeah, we can't help you.
There's no spinning.
Yeah. Um, but and so now, as these dominoes are starting to fall, it's like, how long is it going to be before we hear from Disney?
To kind of tie our stories of the day together, you almost wonder if Disney is a slow rolling it because of the backlash they got after the situations with James Gunn and Gina Carano.
Yeah, and also Johnny Depp. Um,
Oh yeah, forgot about him.
yeah, and that could very well be it. Yeah, that they don't want to they don't want to overreact.
Hmm.
Um, Now, as far as the legal process, as far as the legal case, like, I don't know what's going on there. Like, there was, his lawyer came out and said that there was video evidence exonerating him. We have not seen that video evidence.
Yep.
Don't even know if it actually exists.
Yeah, though you wonder, like, I think, wasn't she taken to the hospital with bruises from like strangulation or something like that?
Yeah, and apparently she was unconscious.
So, okay, hit to the head, you can actually, walk into a doorknob, fall down some stairs, you know,
Hmm.
that can happen. Strangulation, like, how does that, unless there's some David Carradining going on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's yeah, or yeah, there's something in some bedroom activity got a little too out of hand,
Yeah, but oof, that,
but
it, either way, this is not looking good for him, because the longer uh, it's an unfortunate thing where just because he is kind of still at the very early stages of yeah, even if they're astroturfing him, he was a big name all of a sudden.
yeah,
You aren't going to bounce back from this necessarily, or at all, even if you're found innocent.
yeah, yeah, because an accusation like that, like what he's being accused of, I mean, I've seen this so often. I've seen it a lot because I used to. I was a pretty big sports fan for a long time. I followed professional sports, like specifically football and baseball.
Hmm.
And anytime a player had some sort of trouble like this, it was just like, oh geez, and more often than not, they would they'd get like, they get suspended from the league, and then the team they played for would cut them, and they couldn't get another, no other team would pick them up, or maybe a team would pick them up and then something else would happen, just yeah.
Yeah. So just to continue riding that fence, we aren't saying one way or the other what exactly happened. It doesn't look good, and it feels like enough people are deciding, you know what, we don't necessarily need to make our Otis Redding biopic tied to this guy.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty amazing how quickly he went from being top of the world to bottom of the barrel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. Although again, an accusation like what he's being accused of will do that.
Unless your name is Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I've been on Twitter many times, and everyone's just like, "Wait a second, why is he getting jettisoned and Ezra Miller gets to carry on?"
Well, the obvious explanation is that Ezra Miller has the right pronouns.
Yeah, that does seem to be the way that the pyramid goes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's yeah. Jonathan Majors is an African American man. Ezra Miller is a non-binary they them. So he's a little higher. Yeah.
Uh, Dresses like this in public.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's
yeah.
also the difference, though, between it's also the difference between Jonathan Majors' Kang Dynasty movie being a script, a not even written script from the sounds of it at this point,
hmm
versus The Flash having been basically filmed 2, possibly 3 times over. It's like Ezra is a sunk cost at this point. We're going to get whatever money we can get out of it. Well, I still strongly believe that no matter what they're saying in public to try to up the movie a bit, like, oh, Ezra might have a future with us. Our plans are fluid. There is no way.
Yeah.
I would be legitimately shocked if they actually did that.
I, I
That
I would be too. Yeah. In not only because of everything that they've done, but because James Gunn is basically just rebooting the whole franchise.
except for the stuff that he was directly involved in,
Right.
because favoritism.
Yes.
But yeah, it is one of those amusing little bits of hypocrisy, but I think it is just a different situation. And man, if you could go back in time and tell David Zaslav, just put the movie out in June, or excuse me, in January. Trust us. Put out The Flash in January,
Yeah.
take the hit, then you don't have to worry about it ever again.
Yeah.
I think he would have gone for it.
Yeah. Yeah. He might have. Yeah. Um, and of course, I also think too, when they comes to marketing the Flash movie, they're going to lean so heavily on Michael Keaton Batman.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting to see how that one actually does, because I have this. I could see maybe $100 million, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
That would be 100% Michael Keaton bucks.
Yes. They're definitely not going to see it for Flash, and they're definitely not going to see it for Supergirl.
No, especially not that Supergirl.
Yeah. Yeah. What they're doing with that, what they're doing with that Flashpoint storyline, just ugh.
Yeah, I've heard. I remember back in the day, people were saying, "Don't worry, guys, we can keep this Snyderverse going. We just use Flashpoint to reboot things." Imagine trying to explain to your mother why the movies that you dragged her to that she didn't really like are now being fixed because of this other movie with this guy
Yeah.
going back in time. And oh, it's a new continuity going forward. That's confusing enough for comic book fans.
Yeah, it's even more confusing for normies. Yeah.
Yep. But I think that just about sums it up. It's just not a good situation all around.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. Yeah. Well, they'll just. I'm sure this won't be the last we talk about it.
Nope.
Yeah.
Probably another month before we actually get some information, because as I recall, the trial actually happens in May.
Yeah. Yeah, and the courts are not known for their being speedy.
Which is odd, since isn't there a whole constitutional amendment about being guaranteed a speedy trial?
Yes.
Hmm. Well,
Defend. Yeah. Well,
dark times.
yeah. It depends on your definition of speedy.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, gang, I think that's all we have for the week.
Yeah, I think so too. Thank you all for coming in. We appreciate it as always. Of course, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, ring the bell. If you're watching on replay, leave a comment down below. That helps the algorithm.
And
And
if you're watching this in the future, tell us about the rocket ships.
yes. And of course, real quick, for those who might not have who tuned in late, didn't see it before, but Angels Awakening, my first comic book, is now on Kickstarter. Looks like I already got a
Nice.
pledge.
2 pledges.
2 pledges. All right. Well, thank you.
Cooking with gas here.
Yeah. So link is in the description down below. And as always, we will see you all next. We'll maybe see you next week. I'm going out of town, but will probably be back in time to do a show. I'll keep everybody updated. So,
Yep.
Yeah. So, good night, everybody.
Good night.
The life of a spy isn't as glamorous as I thought. But it isn't dull.